For years, Hollywood whispered about one rule. If Nicole Kidman ever looks tired, something catastrophic is happening behind the scenes. It was meant as a joke, but the night she walked out of the Beverly Regent Hotel, hair undone, eyes swollen, lips trembling, no one laughed, especially not Keith Urban. He stood behind her in the lobby, frozen, pale, watching his wife flee the building like someone escaping a burning house. Cameras caught only 3 seconds before security blocked the view. Nicole wiping tears with the back of her hand, Keith taking one step toward her, then stopping. A look on both their faces that no PR team could explain away. Those 3 seconds became the most analyzed footage of the year. Blogs slowed the video to 10% speed. TikTok therapists wrote dissertations. Fans posted frantic comments. What happened? Why is Nicole crying? Why does Keith look terrified? Are they done? But the real story, the one neither of them could release, had started 48 hours earlier on a private ranch in Tennessee at 2:19 in the morning when Nicole Kidman heard something she was never meant to hear. Keith Urban whispering into his phone, "I don't know how much longer I can pretend." Nicole didn't breathe. She was walking down the hallway, barefoot, going to get a glass of water. She hadn't meant to eavesdrop. She hadn't meant to stand behind his half-closed studio door. But she froze, because his voice wasn't angry. It was desperate. "Yeah, I know. But if I tell her now, it'll break something we can't fix." Nicole felt her stomach twist. Tell her what? Break what? She leaned closer, heart hammering. Keith's voice cracked. "She thinks I'm okay. She thinks I'm clean. She thinks everything is normal. But I'm not. I'm slipping. And she can't handle another rescue mission. I can't do that to her again." Nicole felt the air vanish from her lungs. The room spun. Her hand flew to her mouth. No. He couldn't mean what she thought he meant. Not after all these years. Not after all the therapy. Not after all the promises, the ceremonies, the heart-to-heart confessions, the sober anniversaries. Not after she had rebuilt her entire life around trusting him again. She backed away from the door as quietly as she could, fighting the urge to collapse. On the other side of the wall, Keith said the words that detonated her world. "I've been using again." Nicole's knees gave out. She caught herself by gripping the wall. A horrible buzzing filled her ears. The hallway blurred. A cold wave of something, fear, betrayal, recognition, washed over her so violently she nearly vomited. He kept speaking, voice trembling. "Yeah, it's been weeks, months, on and off. I know, I should have told someone, but I couldn't tell her because once she knows, everything changes." Nicole pressed her fist to her mouth to keep from making a sound. Everything changes. He was right. She had promised herself she would never stay with an addict again. Not after her childhood, not after Tom, not after the years she spent mending Keith the first time, not after the nights she prayed he wouldn't die in his sleep. She had loved him through hell once. She wasn't sure she had the strength to do it again. Keith continued, voice breaking. "I'm scared, man. I'm so damn scared. For myself, for her, for us. But I can't keep pretending. I don't know how to tell her without losing her." Nicole slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor, shaking violently, both hands over her mouth. She didn't know how long she stayed there. Minutes, hours, years. When she finally stood up, She walked back to the bedroom in total silence. She crawled beneath the blanket, fully clothed, and stared at the ceiling until sunrise, not blinking, not crying, barely breathing. She had two choices: pretend she heard nothing or confront the truth. She confronted it, and everything detonated. The next morning, Keith walked into the kitchen yawning, rubbing his eyes, unaware that Nicole had spent the whole night awake in the dark like a ghost. "Morning, baby," he said softly. She stared at him. He froze. "Nick?" She swallowed, her voice barely steady. "Who were you talking to last night?" His pupils blew wide. He didn't answer. She stepped closer. "Don't lie to me." Keith opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "It's not what you think. That's what liars say," Nicole whispered. He looked like a man hit by a car. "Nick," he said, stepping toward her. She stepped back. "Are you using again?" The kitchen went silent, dead, heavy, airless. Keith didn't speak, didn't blink, didn't breathe. And that was her answer. Nicole felt something inside her chest collapse, the same way it had the night she found her father's hidden bottles, the same way it had when Tom told her their marriage was not a spiritual fit. She forced her voice not to shake. "How long?" Keith sank into a chair like his bones had turned liquid. "I don't know," he whispered. "I didn't want—" "How long?" she repeated. He covered his face with both hands. "Since the tour ended." Nicole closed her eyes. That was 11 months ago. When she opened them, her voice was eerily calm. "Pack a bag." Keith jolted. "What?" "Pack a bag." "Nick, if you stay in this house tonight, I will never forgive you," she said coldly. He stood up too fast, chair scraping the floor. "You're throwing me out?" he demanded. "I'm protecting my children," she said. "I would never." "Addicts think they won't until they do," she cut in. Keith looked like a man hit by a car. "Nick," he said, stepping toward her. She stepped back. "Are you using again?" The kitchen went silent, dead, heavy, airless. Keith didn't speak, didn't blink, didn't breathe. And that was her answer. Nicole felt something inside her chest collapse, the same way it had the night she found her father's hidden bottles, the same way it had when Tom told her their marriage was not a spiritual fit. She forced her voice not to shake. "How long?" Keith sank into a chair like his bones had turned liquid. "I don't know," he whispered. "I didn't want—" "How long?" she repeated. He covered his face with both hands. "Since the tour ended." Nicole closed her eyes. That was 11 months ago. When she opened them, her voice was eerily calm. "Pack a bag." Keith jolted. "What?" "Pack a bag." "Nick, if you stay in this house tonight, I will never forgive you," she said coldly. He stood up too fast, chair scraping the floor. "You're throwing me out?" he demanded. "I'm protecting my children," she said. "I would never." "Addicts think they won't until they do," she cut in. Keith looked like she had slapped him. "Nick," he whispered, voice breaking. "I'm trying." "You tried before, and you're here again." "I didn't want to be," he yelled. "Neither did I," she yelled back, tears spilling. They stared at each other across the kitchen island, two people who had survived decades of Hollywood storms and yet were being torn apart by the one thing fame couldn't fix: the truth. Keith's face crumpled.
"Please," he whispered. "Please don't make me leave." Nicole wiped her face with shaking hands. "I can't watch you destroy yourself again," she said softly. "I can't. I won't survive it." Keith pressed his palms to the counter, shaking violently. "Nick, I don't want to lose you." "You already have," she whispered. He broke right there, collapsed into a chair, sobbing with the quiet, guttural sound of a man losing the one thing he ever loved more than music. "Nick," he choked, "please." But she walked to the front door, opened it, and pointed outside. He didn't move. "Go," she whispered, voice breaking, "before I can't say it again." Keith Urban walked out of the house barefoot, holding only his phone and his car keys. Nicole shut the door behind him and slid to the floor, finally letting herself cry, loud, shaking, desperate sobs that shook the entire hallway. She stayed there for nearly an hour. Then she stood, wiped her face, walked upstairs, packed her own bag, and booked a hotel room under a fake name. That was day 1. The day the public learned something was wrong was day 2 at the Beverly Regent. The night everything went fully catastrophically public, that was day 3. But that night comes later. For now, there was silence, and 2 people who had built a life together, now living in separate walls of the same city, terrified to move, terrified to think, terrified of the truth. Hollywood's strongest marriage wasn't bending, it was splintering. And the real scandal...
Nobody knew the worst part yet. Not the tabloids, not the fans, not even Keith. Because Nicole Kidman was hiding a secret too. A secret much darker and much more dangerous. Nicole Kidman had always been the kind of woman who could hide a hurricane behind a single composed expression. That was her gift, her curse, her armor, and the very reason nobody, not even her closest friends, suspected what she was about to do. Not even Keith, not even herself. Because when she woke up in the hotel room the morning after she threw him out, she wasn't alone. To be precise, she wasn't alone in her mind. The first sign was small, almost graceful in its cruelty. Her phone was gone, not misplaced, not dropped behind the nightstand. Gone. Nicole sat up too fast, hair falling forward, pulse hammering like a fist on a locked door. She searched the bed, the floor, under the pillows, behind the curtains, inside her coat. Nothing. She remembered plugging it in. She remembered falling asleep. She remembered thinking the hotel room felt too quiet, too clean, too safe. A delusion her exhausted brain clung to. Her hands trembled as she checked her purse again. Still nothing. Then she saw the envelope. It was propped on the dresser, neat, pale, ominously elegant, like something left at a funeral. Her heart stopped. She walked toward it slowly, as if any sudden movement might trigger an explosion. Her fingers hovered over the edge before she finally picked it up. Her name was written on the front. Not Nicole, not Kidman, just N. The handwriting wasn't Keith's. She opened it. One sentence. One single, devastating sentence that made every hair on her body stand up. You and I both know he wasn't the only one lying. Nicole felt the floor tilt beneath her. No signature, no threats, no explanation. Just that. A reminder or accusation that someone knew her secret. She sat down slowly, the note trembling in her hands. Because she had been lying. Not once, not twice, for months. And if that envelope was what she feared,
Her entire public life, her entire carefully curated image, was about to detonate harder than Keith's relapse ever could. Meanwhile, Keith Urban was sitting in his car in a Walmart parking lot, hood pulled low, shaking so badly he almost dropped the steering wheel. He hadn't slept, he hadn't eaten, he hadn't used, not since the day before, but every cell in his body screamed for it. His hands wouldn't stop trembling, his mind wouldn't stop racing.
Voice cracking. Faith swallowed. "She's been meeting with someone," she said. "Someone she used to depend on. Someone she told you she cut out of her life." Keith's felt cold flood his veins. "No," he whispered. "She wouldn't." "Keith?" Faith said softly. "She already did." Back in the hotel room, Nicole stared at the note in her hand. "You and I both know he wasn't the only one lying." The words pulsed like a bruise. She forced herself to stand, forced her mind to follow the steps she'd been dreading for weeks. She walked to the small safe under the TV, typed the code, opened the door, and stared at what she had hidden inside, a small velvet pouch. Not jewelry, not money, not documents. A burner phone. She pulled it out with trembling fingers, turned it on. One message flashed on the screen. From a number saved only as him. The message read, "Did he find out about us?" Nicole closed her eyes. Her heart twisted painfully, not because the message existed, but because she didn't know how to answer. Because the truth, the one nobody knew, was this. Keith wasn't the only one who had turned to someone dangerous in the dark. Nicole had too. Not for drugs, not for comfort, not for cheating, but for something worse. Something she'd kept buried for nearly 10 years. And now someone had opened the grave. The envelope on the dresser wasn't just a warning, it was a promise. Someone out there knew everything. Keith's relapse, Nicole's secret meetings, the marriage that was unraveling from both ends. And the worst part? If the truth got out, only one of them would survive the scandal, and it wouldn't be her. The burner phone felt heavier than it was. Nicole stared at the message from him, thumb hovering over the screen, pulse pounding in her temples. Did he find out about us? She typed, "He knows something. Don't text." 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Then, "We need to talk. Today." She closed her eyes, because she knew exactly who him was. And the real scandal wasn't that she'd been texting him. It was who he was. Ezra Cole, the most ruthless director in Hollywood's favorite genre. True stories that ruin lives. He'd taken down megachurches, disgraced CEOs, corrupt charities. He made documentaries people watched with their hands over their mouths. Nicole had once sworn she would never work with him. So had Keith. 3 years earlier, Ezra had approached her about a deeply human project on addiction in the music industry. Keith had said no. This man doesn't tell stories. He skins people alive on camera. Nicole had agreed back then, but that was before the loneliness. Before the first cracks. Before she began to feel like their polished love story was choking her. Before she did the one thing she swore she'd never do, she called Ezra herself. It started innocently. A creative conversation. A what if. A hypothetical series about a woman married to a man with demons. A woman who loved him and resented him in equal measure. Totally fictional, of course, she'd said, her voice too light. Of course, Ezra had replied, until you decide it doesn't have to be. He was careful. No recordings without consent, no contract signed in haste, just conversations. Long, raw, dangerous conversations that felt more honest than any interview she'd ever given. Conversations where she said things she never said to Keith. I'm tired of being the strong one. I'm afraid I only know how to love broken men. I don't know who I am if I'm not fixing him." Ezra listened like a man drinking from a holy well. "This isn't just a series," he had said once. "This is your confession." And that was the hook. Because Nicole Kidman had spent her life performing other people's confessions. For once, she wanted to own her own. So when Ezra suggested recording some of their talks, for reference, just to capture the rawness, she agreed. Then she crossed the line she couldn't uncross. She started talking about Keith. Not the public Keith, not the interview Keith, the Keith who woke up shaking, the Keith who sometimes stared at the wall for an hour, the Keith who confessed he was afraid sobriety had made him boring, unworthy of her. She didn't name him, but she didn't have to. Everyone would know. As wall. Instead, she forced herself to breathe. "Meet me," she said. "Today, somewhere public. Beverly Regent, 5 p.m. "That's risky," he said, but he sounded delighted. "All right, I do love a hotel." She hung up, checked the time. 4 hours. 4 hours to decide whether to admit everything to Keith or let him walk into the biggest betrayal of his life without warning. 2 miles away, in the Walmart parking lot, Faith Hill was watching Keith like a hawk. He looked like he might shatter if the wind blew too hard. She asked if he was okay. He laughed bitterly. "You really want me to answer that?" She sighed. "Okay, different question," she said. "Do you want to get better? Or do you just want this all to stop hurting?" He stared at the steering wheel. "I don't know anymore," he admitted. "I thought getting better meant the pain would go away. Turns out I just sometimes wished he'd relapsed just enough to make you feel needed again." "Shut up," Nicole hissed. Keith flinched like he'd been punched. "Is that true?" he whispered. Nicole's eyes filled. "I said a lot of things in pain," she said. "Things I don't." "Do you?" he cut in. "Do you want me broken?" "No," she said instantly. "Did you say it?" he pressed. She hesitated. "That you don't know how to love me unless I'm bleeding?" he said. "That being with a healthy man is boring? That's what he told me, Nick. That you confessed that?" She whipped around to Ezra. "You told him?" she demanded, betrayed. Ezra shrugged. "I told him his wife is the bravest woman I've worked with, and that truth hurts." Keith's hands were shaking. "I relapsed," he said, voice low and raw. "I lied. I own that. But you took my worst moments and turned them into content." Tears spilled down her face. "I was drowning too. I didn't know where else to put it." "On me," he said. "You put everything else on me. Why not this?" "Because you were the problem," she shouted, then covered her mouth, horrified at herself. There it was, out loud, in a hotel lobby, in front of him, in front of Ezra, in front of 2 waiters trying not to stare, and 3 guests pretending to be on their phones while recording every second. "I was the problem," Keith repeated, voice shaking. "So you went to a man who profits off problems?" Nicole's chest hurt. "I made a mistake," she said. Ezra snorted. "You made great television," he corrected. And Keith turned to him slowly. "Do you enjoy this?" Ezra didn't fight back. He smiled. "Go ahead," he whispered. "Hit me. Give them an even better story." Keith's fist trembled. "Do it," part of him screamed. "Don't," another part begged. "Please don't give him more." He stepped back, shaking. "You're not worth the relapse," he spat. Security moved in, hands up, cautious. "Is everything okay here?" one of them asked. Nicole wiped her face. "Yes," she lied automatically. "We're fine."
"Oh, we're more than fine," he said. "We're historic." He leaned toward her. 6 weeks. That's when the first episode drops. With or without your blessing. But I'd rather have you on the poster as a collaborator than as a victim. Think about it. Then he walked away, leaving the chaos he'd created behind him like a stain. Nicole's legs gave out. She collapsed into the nearest chair, sobbing openly now. Seconds the cameras outside caught. Her wiping her face, Keith taking a step toward her, then stopping, his eyes full of something like horror and love twisted together. Security blocking the view. The internet turned those 3 seconds into 1,000 theories. What nobody saw was what happened next. Keith moved. He came around the chair, knelt in front of her, and took her shaking hands in his. "Nick," he said softly, "look at me." She couldn't. "Please," he whispered. "Please, baby, look at me." She forced her eyes up. "I'm sorry," she choked. "I'm so sorry. I never meant—" "I know." "No, you don't," she sobbed. "I wanted to punish you. I wanted you to feel how it felt when you lied and I found out. I don't even know what I wanted. I was so angry at you, at myself, at this life, at this stupid narrative where I'm the saint and you're the sinner. I wanted to burn it down." He swallowed hard. "You did," he said quietly. "You set it on fire. And I helped." She closed her eyes. "I talked a movie," she said. "This is not a series. This is not a campaign. This is our life. And for years, we let other people package it for entertainment. We participated in that. We benefited from that. We also got trapped by it." She glanced at Keith. "I married a man who was an addict. I married him anyway. He got sober. I stayed. We built a life. We built a myth around that life. She saved him. He was redeemed. They are unbreakable." She took a breath. "That myth almost killed us," she said. Keith spoke next. "I relapsed," he said simply. "I lied about it. I hid it. I tried to manage it alone, which is the most classic stupid addict thing you can do. When Nicole found out, she had every right to throw each other out. They pile up. They suffocate you. The easy story is he relapsed, she plotted a documentary, their marriage exploded. The real story is we both used other people and work and narrative instead of talking to each other. For years." Nicole folded her hands together. "There is a series. There are recordings, there are emails, there are things I said in pain, like I never loved this man. I did. I do. The things I said were real feelings. They were not the whole truth." She looked at Keith again. "I am sorry," she said. "I have said that to him privately. I'm saying it publicly now because I used the public against him. I'm not going to pretend I didn't." He nodded once. Because I don't want to live the rest of my life in a marriage where we take turns crucifying each other." He turned to the camera. "As for Ezra, he can do whatever he wants with what he stole from us. But if you watch it, I hope you do it knowing this: no one gets the whole truth in 6 episodes." Nicole took something from the coffee table, a small USB drive. She held it up. "These are the raw files. Every recording, every rant, every crying jag, every moment I tried to shape my pain into a story for someone else to direct." She set it back down. "We're sending them to our lawyers. We're also sending them to a nonprofit that helps artists being exploited by true story projects. Whatever they decide to do with it, that's their choice. But as far as we're concerned, we're done performing our wounds for profit." Keith smiled sadly. We don't know if we're going to make it.
Everyone wants a clean ending. Together forever or we're done. Every article about the secret series that will destroy Nicole and Keith was forced to include a new angle. Them, their words, their faces, their refusal to play roles anymore. The streaming platform delayed the series. Public pressure, legal complaints, a suddenly uncomfortable spotlight on the ethics of monetizing marital breakdowns in prestige TV. Ezra raged on background to any journalist who would listen. They're cowards, he fumed. They wanted truth until it got ugly. But privately, he had lost because he no longer had a clean narrative either. His exclusive was now just one perspective among many. The internet did what it always does. It chose sides, it made memes, it argued. She's a monster, he's a liar, they're toxic, they're brave. But beneath the noise, something else shifted. People began posting their own stories. My husband relapsed and I almost left. I told my friend's secrets to my therapist and never admitted it. I made my pain a personality, and it almost cost me my marriage. The real scandal turned out not to be their marriage. It was how many people saw themselves in it. Weeks later, Nicole and Keith were sitting on the same couch, this time with the cameras off, their phones off, the world blessedly silent. She asked, "Do you regret it?" "Which part?" he said. "The video, the confession, the fact that we ever let cameras into this house in the first place?" She said, "All of it." He thought for a long time. He said, "I regret lying to you. I regret you feeling like you couldn't tell me the truth without packaging it for someone else. I regret that we turned love into a brand and then got surprised when it acted like one." She smiled tiredly. "That's a lot of regret," she said. "Yeah," he agreed. "I don't regret one thing, though." "What?" she asked. "That we told it ourselves, before somebody else could tell it for us." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Do you think we'll make it?" she whispered. "I don't know," he said. "But for the first time, if we don't, at least it won't be because we were pretending we did." She laughed softly. "Do you still love me?" she asked. He didn't hesitate. "Yes," he said. "Do you still love me, even when I'm not falling apart?" She hesitated a second. Then, "Yes," she said. "Especially then. I just have to learn how." He kissed the top of her head. "We'll learn together," he murmured. Outside, somewhere, emails were being drafted. Contracts reworked. Tabloid headlines pitched and rejected. Inside, in a quiet house that had seen too many cameras and not enough unfilmed truth, two people sat in the mess they'd made together, not as saints, not as villains, not as a cautionary tale or a comeback PR arc, just as a man and a woman who finally understood the most scandalous truth of all. Real love is not clickbait. It's what you do after the whole world thinks they already know your story, and you decide to write a new one anyway.